Roll call, sir.
Commissioner Cater.
Here.
Commissioner Gallagher.
Here.
Commissioner Buckley.
Here.
Commissioner Warren present.
As you wish, please stand for the pledge and the invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Commissioner.
Dear Lord, thank you for all that you've blessed us with. Dear Lord, please lead us and guide us to do what's best for the county and our actions. Dear Lord, be with us throughout the week as it's a beautiful, beautiful week. Ask this in your Son, Jesus Christ's name. Amen.
Thank you. The consent agenda is on the board, has been published. Motion, please.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
I'll second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Okay, we have one agenda item, and it is bid opening. How many bids do you have?
Now,
We have none. Okay. And in all seriousness, folks, our next meeting will be. Now, Corey, would you hold your hand up? I blame Corey for this because when Linda's are taking care of the agenda, we have an agenda, but Corey failed us.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, so it's Corey's fault. We do have some opportunities for people to talk. Does anybody have any public comments?
I would like to thank Corey because with
Now, wait a minute, I just tore her piece.
I know, but with all that's going on this week and as much as we got going on, thank you for the short agenda because there's a lot happening.
Okay. Yeah, John?
This is the second year in a row, going back to the agenda item, that we have not received a bid on striping. I'll just do my due diligence, reach out to the striping companies that are out there and get some quotes.
The rule is if we either have no bids or reject all bids, we can go shopping. And so John will now go shopping. He'll keep records of everybody he talks to, keep records of what they want to do it for and all this. And then they will make the decision on how to proceed with this. So the job doesn't stop because we have no bids. It just changes gears.
How we
to
do.
do it.
It's been rough for quite some time with striping companies throughout that. It was before I left Lowe's the same way.
And we do want to talk about Berry Road. I mean, it's wonderful.
Oh,
I mean, it's 8 miles of beautiful roadway up through there.
The road was finished last week, and we went through and put 4-foot gravel shoulders on the roadway as well. So you have a 22-foot asphalt surface with 4-foot gravel shoulders.
And when was Primrose last paid?
A month ago.
Okay, because it's great too.
Yeah.
And then you go right into that new bridge that you guys built down, and it's wonderful up there.
Well, we've actually constructed, there's a new bridge on Primrose that was built about a year ago, and then a low water crossing that we improved, and then widened the road, did an overlay on it, and as well as Berry.
Yeah, and in the future, like I say, if you have a chance, go up and drive on Berry Road.
You're gonna start a traffic jam.
Yeah, because in the future, if you think of Hillsborough or main thoroughfares, we really need to look at widening them. When you drive the road, you're gonna understand what I'm saying.
And by the way, with the striping, that depends on if you can stripe the width of the road.
It does. There's some guidelines there in the MUTCD about what you can do with
Can you
striping.
describe those? We're trying to fill some time here.
Oh,
So-
I don't have all of it in front of me. Yeah.
Okay.
Do what? You need some time? Oh, Louis busy, he said.
I got work to do, Kevin. Hunt Road's one of the roads we have to take a look at with the city, because
Yes.
the city, we own part of it, they own part of it. And it's got real narrow
Well, everybody thinks it's narrow
Yeah.
because they do about 70 miles an hour on it,
it's narrow.
but it's actually over 20 feet wide. And that's just one of the standards that we try to get our roads to is 20 feet.
Well, the sides is what scares
But
me.
you
It
are
does.
right.
But
The
Little
uptake in
drops on both sides.
We run into great issues, Kerry, you know
Yeah.
that on Feezer Road right now with what we're trying to do, and put these shoulders on there and.
Well, the problem we're having is, and we need to look in the future, is John and them maintain the roads. They got, what we need to look in the future is really road construction. And it's very expensive. And we're gonna eventually, we gotta start doing it, like so many miles a year, but we really have to look into our roads. And, I mean, we can keep construction and you know, you really, we have to start widening our main roads.
Now, you're talking construction, but we're also talking about overlay. So there's a difference there.
We need to
Oh, yeah,
combine those
big
two.
difference.
The road construction and overlay, like what we saw on Barrett, that was an easy job to do because it was an old state route.
Right.
It was to grade, we had plenty of real estate to work with.
Good base.
There was a good base. These roads that are 16 to 20 feet wide and the fence is right at the edge of the road,
Got
they
that.
just create a whole new issue. And honestly, over the last 5 or 6 years, we've really fell behind on our maintenance work of pulling ditches, keeping the edges free of obstruction so water can run off into the ditch. Because we've been building bridges and we've been doing some of these smaller construction projects that have backed us up on our maintenance. Well, now that we're in good shape with our bridges, we have several left to do, but we really need to look at road construction. As Kerry said, Hillsborough Road, it's one of the most highly trafficked roads in the county. It's narrow, it's in poor shape for the most part of it. It's
And
been
it-
overlaid, but it's still in poor shape.
And John will tell you, it's gonna be expensive.
We've
Now-
got,
Okay, an existing road like that, how would you construct that? Do you go in and, grind it all up, including a couple inches of topsoil, mix it up, and then let that be as a gravel road for a while? How do you do that?
no, we can't do it with that. What we're looking at on Hillsborough Road, what we did this time was to go in and remove 4 inches of asphalt. They were
Okay.
gonna mill 4 inches of asphalt out and use that for the new asphalt to overlay the road.
Mix it in with the new asphalt.
Well, they would take it back to the plant and make
Right,
wrap.
remake it, okay.
But we also have to really, the edges.
The edge,
We
but then
have
we
to-
have to go through and acquire these easements.
Okay, you said make wrap, that means recycled asphalt pavement,
That's correct.
okay.
And the expensive part will be the edges. Really, we have to, the easements we have, which John knows, most roads are what, 30-foot? 30-foot easements, and it's hard to get our roads on 30-foot easement, what we want.
If you
Including
have-
bathrooms and everything.
And if you have to move telephone poles, then Ameren wants us to have an engineered drawing of
Then
what
we have to pay for
construction,
that.
and then we have to pay for that.
Yeah.
So we run into a financial burden when we go to widen these roads. That's why in the past, the last 30 years, they just had overlay after overlay after overlay put on top of them. And what that does, that narrows your road surface.
Okay. Bob?
One of the biggest things that you won't have control of is that the acquisition of your easements. Those, you gotta have that easements or you can't do what John was saying.
Okay, but we already have a 30-foot.
No, we have a 30-foot
No.
right to maintain. We
Okay,
do not own, for 90% of the county, we do not own easements on our roads.
so right to maintain doesn't include,
That's by state
you
statute.
can't use up all that 30 feet.
You can, but there's not enough room in that 30 feet. By the time you back slope your ditches,
15
you get
feet to
a
the side.
3-to-1 slope off your ditch,
Yeah.
off the road surface.
Well,
There's
a
not
lot
enough
of-
room there.
You
Lot of
really
the-
need about 50 or 60 foot of easement in order to build a decent road.
And I know Louis in a hurry, but,
He's doing a lot of writing.
Driving me.
I can tell you that.
if things would've changed 30 years ago, maybe there would've been a little different, foresight on what was going on. Cape County, when they take a gravel road and wanna asphalt it, they go through and get an easement document prepared. Everybody signs off on it, and then the county owns that right of way.
Everybody signs off on it. Now, you have
As long as
trouble
they
with
get,
that.
actually, it's 75%. As long as
Yeah,
you get
but you got
75%.
something over them, if it's gravel and you're converted to asphalt, once you asphalt it, then they really don't care if
Yeah.
you widen it or not.
So, all the
That's
gravel
fine.
roads that were changed to asphalt, if we could've went through and got easements on those would've been roads that,
I think we can get an easement on the golf course if you guys would agree to put like a 3-foot bumper all along it that keeps it all going.
thanks Louis.
I need a wall. Hey, bye, Louis.
Well, what we are talking about in easements, and they're really very, when we go out to redo a road, we're working on one now, 85% of the people are for the new road and the easements, and, you might have 2 or 3, no. And then, the problem is, are you gonna build a road, and when you get to them, narrow it down, come back, we don't wanna do that.
Well, then you really get into an issue of safety.
Yep.
Yes.
And when it becomes safety oriented, it really puts in your guys' court, Do you wanna do the eminent domain and say, we're putting this road through here, whether, because it's been an established road, we're just trying to prove the safety on it.
And then the connector roads that everybody's gonna be driving, we know where they're gonna be, and we've gotta widen them. I'm not saying that, you know, you're gonna have your subdivision and all, but the main connector roads we have to widen.
Right.
And we're really having an issue, believe it or not, you can have meetings, and everything here, and you will get 85% for it, and you've got them two that are not, and, you know, we gotta make a decision, you know, what are we gonna do here?
Yeah, we
Because it's not fair for the
And
state.
those two that won't, just, their fear of what could be.
Right.
It's not,
And-
you know, just.
And we've always
well,
just done the best, and I know everybody before us did too, the best with what they had. We budget approximately 1.5 to 1.8 million for overlay a year. If we had that constructed by a company besides us, have a contractor come in and do it, that's about 2 or 3 miles a year. Where we do about 20 miles of overlay with that money.
Yeah, that
So,
road construction
You can
costs
see the
way more.
difference, in the construction cost from an overlay to an actual road construction, with shoulders and proper ditching.
And, you know, the public's gonna have to understand, it's like John's talking about, the overlay and the prep they do, but when you really start construction on a road, it's very expensive. And, you know, we don't want them to get the wrong idea that we're spending money wrong, but it's gonna have to be done eventually.
Well, once you do it, they'll see, but the initial act of it is, oh, this is gonna hurt, like those roundabouts all over, and they work out, and they're like, oh, well, maybe this was a good idea.
And J-turns.
And J
Well,
turns,
and-
right.
If you have a contractor working on a project, they have a window to complete the project.
Yes.
If we're working on a project in-house and a snowstorm comes through or a tornado comes through and we're out 3 weeks doing the storm cleanup throughout the county, that project's just sitting there. We're not completing that project in a timely fashion. And like I said, we're really lacking on our maintenance work by doing some of these bigger projects because of the money. We don't have the money.
Typically, and I'm gonna say reconstruction, like on Hillsborough Road, how long would that road be shut down?
It would never be shut down unless they were doing a bridge project.
So you
It
did
would
lane by
always-
lane? Is that what
It would always be impassable, so, the residents could get to their house. Now, it might be for local traffic only, but they could get to their house.
Okay, no big go around, it just slow down.
Just a slow down.
Okay. Yes, Ben?
I know we're filling time, I got a man here that can talk for 2 hours and not say anything. I don't know what else has to be done. He needs to speak about public comment.
You're exactly, no, go ahead.
Thank you all, thank you for the opportunity. I just wanted to real quick, one, thank you all for willingness to work with us.
Alan can come to the microphone.
Okay.
I don't even know if it's on. Might be push the button.
Push that
button. At the bottom.
Test, it's on.
Okay.
I just want to thank you all for willingness to work with us on a location for a tower on this radio project we're working on for our police and our fire, sheriff, EMS. And the location is ideal to help us in the north end of the county of the MoDOT location to work with getting across the highway with the schools and getting into the schools better and on over towards French Village and that area.
When you talk about MoDOT, you talk about our north
Yes,
farm area. Okay.
right. You
Where the
all-
salt shed is up there.
You're right. That's a prime location for us to
Yeah.
put that tower. The question, I guess, also came up, would we be willing to assist with some of the fencing on that? And we would be, within reason,
Okay.
be willing to work with them some fencing. So I have, our consultants will be in town this evening and would like to go up in the morning and actually kind of stake out the spot for that tower.
I'm getting a yes nod there from.
I think it's already been painted, just preliminary marks put out.
Perfect.
So I think there's a location right there for you guys.
Excellent. And that's all I have, is see if you all have any questions.
Okay, John, is that gate locked? And can they get a key for it if it is?
What time will you be up there tomorrow?
I'm not sure yet.
They can go in the back way.
It's probably afternoon.
Yeah. Defense
Oh,
first.
okay. I didn't know if I come by and meet them or whatever.
Sure, I can let you know.
Oh, it's something.
I know they have an
Awesome.
appointment in St. Genevieve on their tower site in the morning, so
Yeah.
it'll be afternoon.
Okay.
Cool, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Al.
Thank you, Tyler.
And Dan, that's long, I mean, he didn't take 2 hours to do that.
Yeah, he usually talks longer than that.
Oh, we know.
I got a question, is,
Give me mine.
Can you come to the microphone? You start out with your name, please.
for me,
I think Al was just talking about.
Yeah.
it got rid of it. I'm Darrell Hibbett, I'm from Farmington, Missouri, born and raised, well, not born, I'm born in Boston.
Okay.
Been here all my folks had a grocery store up on Tosin Street. Anyway, I was just curious about if the county commissioners has considered, the deal with the, senior citizens as far as the, rollback, as far as, our taxes with
You
our,
talking about Senate Bill 190?
whatever it is.
Yes, yes, we are looking at that, and, we are going to act, but as it's written, is a piece of junk. Because there's so many unanswered questions on it. And so Kevin here is involved with the state level of representatives and other people that are trying to rewrite that so it's usable. For instance, there's only people who retire on Social Security right now can claim that. Just, no, if you have another retirement system, you're out of the look. So there's all kinds of issues like that, a book of issues like that, that unanswered questions. So, when that's done, when that's settled, we will pass it. We thoroughly agree to, or want to pass this. But if you do it now, there's gonna be lawsuit after lawsuit because of people that are very upset with how we work with them. And so, yes, we will act on it. And matter of fact, I've talked to our attorney lately, last couple of days. And he's gonna send us a resolution that we can act on to just let people know where we stand on this. And it's a temporary issue, but yes, we will do this. So,
Because Farmington has been a retired community ever since I've lived here. I mean, you know, there's been there's quite a few people that we, back when I was a kid, 70 years ago, there's a lot of older people living here, and it hasn't really changed as far as.
Well, your grocery store was where the security place is on Tosin Drive, grocery. I remember.
Well, we're at right now statewide, there's some counties that have agreed to go ahead and write their own language and make assumptions and just let their in-house attorneys fight it. We don't have any in-house attorneys to fight it, but there's several things. One that you brought up today, does it go back to when I qualified for Social Security? So like Wolf Creek, do I not have to pay the Wolf Creek Fire Department because it passed after I turned 65? That bill does not stipulate that. Teachers' retirement does not. You don't want teachers to go in. Do you have the power to stop the taxes
On state level.
for the schools and for the community college and for the developmentally disabled board? That's left up in question there. And so what we've asked Travis Elliott, the attorney for a bunch of the counties, to do is propose legislation for you to establish that you are going to do it, set the date. Maybe the other thing this county faces, since the northern part of the county, everything but Farmington hasn't been reassessed. And you've told the assessor to get on that because the assessor was supposed to assess it 2 years ago, did not do it. But the Farmington had gotten reassessed, and all the Farmington School District was reassessed. By setting a time in the future, we can do two things. One, equalize the assessments in the county, to the parts of the county that need to be reassessed. And two, clarify either through legislation, because we propose legislation for next year, or through lawsuit, like St. Charles and Green, whether they have the ability to freeze, because of your property tax, as you're probably aware of the $3.89 or whatever it is, 2 cents is the county. So if they don't have the ability to freeze the other $3 and some odd cents, then it really isn't going to give anything to you. So hopefully he will have some language that you can say, stipulate that you are going to adopt it, when you're going to adopt it, and that hopefully we can get these other issues resolved.
Yeah, and the when scares me because I don't know when this will all be resolved.
Right, but you could set a date and then
Look at it again.
Look at it, delay it. If the lawsuit's going to be settled, say you decide to do it at the end of this next year after we reassess in and the lawsuits could be settled in the spring, you could delay it until you got it established, otherwise you're gonna be in the middle of lawsuits.
There are several issues there. First of all, the general revenue fund for the county has been rolled back to practically nothing. So you have that issue of a lessening tax level for county receipts. And then you have an inflation of assessments over time. And then you have the new taxes, Wolf Creek Fire Department, for instance, that have been added since I became eligible. So we've got all those issues in there that we don't know how to work with yet. So, yes, to answer your question, yes, we will enact something as soon as it's viable. And then we don't know when that'll be.
But some of those issues don't necessarily apply to people in Farmington as far as Wolf Creek, right?
That's, well,
Well, that is true, but like me, I'm a railroad worker, or was, so I'm gonna get railroad retirement, but does that mean when I become eligible for my railroad retirement, I won't be in on
You
it
don't
because
get it.
I'm not gonna get Social Security?
as it's written now, you don't,
So, I'm not eligible for Social Security, so
school teachers don't.
I'll still have to pay.
Well, I know, but they.
So that's where we're gonna,
they
that's
got
what
a
the
different
suits.
retirement system. They don't pay into Social Security.
I know, but for that reason, they don't require. they
But we
don't-
do pay our
Social
taxes.
Security
They
is
don't
not paying
qualify
your taxes.
for the freezing
Yeah.
of the taxes. So,
I
and
guess what they're looking at probably is in Jeff City is that, as percentage wise, how many people is in what, in the Social Security versus the other ones.
I would disagree with you there. I don't think they knew what the hell they were doing in Jefferson City with it. They said it was for seniors, and you can't vote against seniors, so they went ahead and adopted it, even though they didn't stipulate that. And I've talked, and what they did is they put even a better word, we'll go ahead and let the local commission decide it, so we're not on the hook. We're on the hook for offering tax release, but we're not on the hook for actually
Yeah.
implementing.
We're getting real good about messing with
Oh my
Yes.
gosh.
Oh, yeah.
okay, do you
You're
have
right.
any other questions?
Thank
Well,
you, Dick.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Kevin, and thanks for giving us the opportunity to talk about this. Okay, any other public comments? Okay, any other departmental reports? And John, I think you were at a conference last week.
Well, it's clay nights into that. There was a lot of representatives there, different levels, county, city, state, federal highway. A lot of discussions about grants. That was probably 50% of the conference. Different funding opportunities, why the grants are so hard to obtain, different loopholes, trying to make that easier. Some of the funding opportunities, called the NOFO, Notice of Funding Opportunities, those are not uniform in how they're sent out. They would like to see them sent out once a year. I just got one last night, notice of a funding opportunity for a grant. They just come out at random, so you're never prepared for that. So it's hard from a budgetary standpoint, if they're a match grant, to know that those opportunities are coming out. So that was one of the big topics, was trying to get a uniform release date on these grants, so counties can be prepared budgetarily for those. Another big topic was, I'm probably gonna say this wrong, but cold break press tub girders. Basically, it's a piece of steel that 4 or 5 feet wide, 1/2 inch thick, and they use a press as the steel's cold, and they'll press a tub to make a girder, and then you put diaphragms in the end. You can pour precast, you can set a precast deck on them or a cast in place deck, and you can build all the way up to a 140-foot bridge with these.
Can't do pre-stressed,
These are steel. These
I
are
know, but-
steel girder.
filled with concrete.
No,
No,
no, you put a cast in place deck on them, or a precast panels on top of them.
okay.
It's just a way to build a bridge a little faster and a little cheaper. So there was a lot of information.
That'd be pretty heavy steel, wouldn't it, Bob?
Well, it's 1/2 inch steel,
Okay, I missed
and
that
it's
part.
pressed, so depending on the depth of your girder,
Right,
would give you your length.
I'm with you now, okay.
So if we're doing like a 40-foot span bridge, it may be a 15 or 17 inch deep girder. Where if you're doing 80 feet, it might be, 36
Okay,
inches.
it's hollow, it's the opening at the top.
The opening is at the top.
Okay. And
They actually make 2 different styles. There's an opening at the top, And there's one that opens at the bottom so you can inspect the inside of the girder.
Okay, and does the top have a web that sticks out on the side?
It's got two flanges, two ears that come
Okay,
out.
that's important.
And depending on what style of hose you have, depends on what's in the top of the girder.
Yeah, that web on the side of the
Yeah.
top isn't.
So if you're doing a two-span, on your center pier, there's diaphragms that go in the end so you can pour that all as one when you do a cast in place. A lot of information on that. It's big up north in Wisconsin, Minnesota. Starting
Now-
to take on in Illinois.
You say that can be 140 something feet long?
Mm-hmm.
That's a huge machine. Do they roll that or press it?
Pressed.
Press.
Cold steel that's pressed.
Wow. That's a big machine.
Yep. There's a company out of Georgia, Valmont, that designs these and they engineer them. So you don't have to go through an engineering firm. They send you all the specs on the bridge, like if we were building a bridge in-house.
Special delivery trucks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. So
That's interesting.
that was one of the big topics as well. I know Iowa and Illinois are kind of moving into some of those bridges.
Are engineering companies aware of these? They can design to them.
These are already pre-designed girders.
No, but they've got to design girders or the supports and everything else for them.
They do. I haven't talked to Jeremy or
They need to be aware
Adam.
of this.
Yeah, about them yet.
Okay. Okay, thank you. That's interesting. I hadn't thought of heard of that.
Well, that was probably the topic that I liked the best at the conference, was the bridge builder.
That's awesome.
Any other departmental reports?
I got a couple things. One, I know you've got the date, you got the date up there for the next meeting, but just remind everybody, the following week, October 2nd, our meeting will be on Monday since it's the first of the quarter. So, you have to have the request in by that Friday.
Yes.
So I just wanted to remind you, because that's coming up. Second thing is, I'd like to do, Human Resources, do something different on when somebody retires and they're eligible to pay their insurance through Cobra. They pay us, it's $700 something a month typically, because they have to pay what we pay till they're 65. And 65, our insurance won't let them stay on. But we've been having some difficulty with at least one person, Joe Cobra, who retired from here, and he knew he was turning 65 1 month, so he quit paying 2 months prior. We, of course, remit the money every month. What I'd like to do is maybe look in to see if we could do a bank draft to pay rather than relying upon what we do now, them paying, because we're out $1,500 and he won't return calls. We're probably gonna have to go out and do small claims court because we sent him a certified letter and he refused the letter even though the courier said it was him and he admitted it was him, he refused to take it. So we don't need this kind of hassle when we're doing a favor to somebody to keep them on our Teamsters insurance or team care. So we gotta find out if it is legal, if we can, once they retire, is to make them do a bank draft to pay for their insurance.
Tell me how that bank draft works. What are you saying?
What I'm saying is, if it's $750 a month, we could do a release where $750 gets drafted out of the bank every month as opposed to.
Automatic payment.
Automatic payment
Okay.
instead of having them remit payments to us, because that's an accounting problem from that end of it. But really, we're gonna have to go at them through small claims court.
In that particular case, we owed him a lot of money at retirement because of
Yeah, we went
time.
ahead and paid out.
So couldn't we have withheld that?
And we probably could have, we haven't done that in the past, and that's what I'm saying, we have to look and see what alternatives we have. But you have the same problems, because if he retires a year and a half from 65, and you withhold the insurance and he dies the next month, then you've got to remit back to, so that's what we have to figure out what.
But at least it's settled that way.
Right.
Yeah.
And we're better off not writing a check out to them if they owe us future payments on the insurance.
So can we hold it out in advance?
I don't know,
for the
but
first-
Well,
I think retirees are gonna be interested to see if you can withhold a year and a half's payments.
Well,
You're
let's
talking
take-
about thousands of dollars then.
Let's take a hard look at it and make it an agenda item in the near future.
I just wanted to
So
make
how to
sure
handle
we
this.
have to,
Okay,
we have to look at some alternatives.
let's take a hard look at it and look at all the possibilities.
That's all I have.
Okay. Okay. Any other departmental reports?
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.